There are only ever two things that anybody wants in this life. The first one is to avoid pain and suffering, and the second one is to find lasting happiness. Today, I want to talk about the second half of that desire, happiness. First, I'm going to focus on how it is that we can find happiness in the first place. And then I'm going to talk about how we can cultivate that happiness. And last, but certainly not least, I'm going to talk about how we can make this happiness last. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this video is helpful, then please like and subscribe so more people have access to this video. Finding happiness. I've said many, many times on this channel that we are aware, focusing beings. We are constantly using the awareness, which is what we are, and we're focusing it on something. When you start to feel unhappy, it is always because of where you're placing your awareness, where you're focusing that awareness, where you've decided to take all of your energy and put it towards something. Whenever we place our focus, our attention on something, that thing begins to become amplified because we're giving that thing energy. And if that thing is not something that you want to see amplified in your life, then most likely you're going to feel unhappy. Most of you watching this channel were drawn to your spiritual path because of the realization that nothing outside of you is cutting it. Nothing outside of you is ever going to bring you lasting happiness. I'll use my life as an example. I thought that if I had the perfect dance career, that would bring me lasting happiness. Or that if I had children, that would do it. Or the perfect partner or husband, that would do it. And I've had all of those things. And none of them have brought me lasting happiness. Now, that's not to say that I don't love my partner and I don't absolutely love my children unconditionally. But there's still this thing inside of me that is thirsting for more, that is thirsting for something else. And that thing is finding source. Finding source, finding your creator is the very thing that is going to bring you that satisfaction that you are looking for. Deciding to be happy. One of the most empowering things that I've ever realized in my life was that I could decide how I wanted to feel, that nothing or no one, in fact, makes me feel a certain way. And happiness, which is what I was really wanting, is a choice. It can be thought of as a habit, something that we can decide to do. What I really like to do, and I used to do this a long time ago, every time that you use the bathroom, which I tend to do a lot because I drink a lot of water, is look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself a beaming smile. Nobody's around, you're in there by yourself, and just go and give yourself a huge smile just for a second. It doesn't have to be that long, and then go about your way. And you can do this all day long, every single day. And the more and more you do it, even if you're in kind of a mood, it can become something that becomes a habit. And it can get you out of your funk so that you start to feel happy. It can even make you laugh because it's so ridiculous. And in the beginning, even if it doesn't feel genuine, just do it. Just try and make the effort to smile. Smiling, even when you're not feeling happy, is like a back door. It's like a body hack into tricking yourself into feeling better. Now, in no way am I saying that you should suppress any emotion that you're feeling. You know how big I am on allowing yourself to move through emotions and let them go and process your emotions. But what I am saying is that we can begin to practice, to realize that we are the ones that get to decide how we want to feel. We can choose where we want to place our focus, where we want to take this precious awareness, which is what we are, and where do we want to place that? That joy, that peace, that love, that happiness is within you. So, in order to find that, we need to go inside. We need to stop thinking that we can find happiness out there because it's not out there. Cultivating happiness. I love what Yogananda talks about when he speaks about sitting from the balcony of self reflection. And you look at your life and you think about all of the moments, all of the beautiful moments, all of the not so beautiful moments, but reflect on the course of your life and really begin to understand what is it about the moments that brought me the most joy? Why did those things make me so happy? And what I've found is that every time that I'm really giving, that I'm the one doing the giving, that's what really brings me the most joy. It's not when I'm receiving something. Yes, receiving things is beautiful, but when you act out of the state of giving, you automatically receive. I'll tell you a quick little story about my mom. When my mom was working at a hair salon for a long time, she was actually just working at the front desk, but she really did not like the job. And she would schlep back and forth on the subway. We were living in New York for about an hour each way. And by the time she'd come home and I'd see her face, she just looked gray and just tired and just so not happy. And she had been making these beautiful little hats. You know, her whole life she loved to sew. And she was making these beautiful little felted hats. And I just loved them so much. And I just thought, Mom, you know what? I'm going to take your hats and I'm going to go around the city and I'm going to sell all of these hats. And I'm going to prove to you that we can make a business out of these hats, out of selling these hats. And she laughed and she gave me like 5 or 6 hats and I stuck them in a paper bag. That day, I went around with my little paper bag full of my mom's felt hats and I took them to all the top little cute hip boutiques in New York City and Manhattan. And I sold every single one of those hats. And I did this because I believed in her and I wanted to give her this. I wanted to give her the understanding that she is talented and that she can do something else with her life. And when I came back that day with a check in my hand, and some of the stores were even wanting more hats, and I came back and I said, Look, Mom, I did it. Look what I did. We sold your hats. You see? And she just couldn't believe it. She was just completely in disbelief. And she was so happy. And that moment was so special for me because I got to give her that gift that I believed in her. And we can do this for each other. We can give each other our beautiful gift of happiness. When we're approaching life from a state of giving, then we find an incredible amount of happiness. That is the best way to cultivate happiness. You can give kindness to someone. You can give somebody a smile as you walk by them. It doesn't have to be a huge, big thing. But if you keep at the forefront of your mind this knowing that the more that I give, the more I'm cultivating that happiness inside of me. And at the end of your life, what's really going to matter is not how much wealth you've accumulated or how hard you've worked or the accomplishments in your life. What's going to matter is how you showed up. There's another line that I absolutely love from A Course in Miracles, and it's giving is receiving. They are the same thing. The more that you give, the more that you receive. The more that you give, the more happiness you receive. So it's this incredible win-win situation. Don't give in order to get something back, but when you give, really give from the heart, from this place of not wanting anything in return, then what you're doing is you're connecting to your true self. You're connecting to that limitless, all abundant self, right? You're not connecting with your little self. Your ego is always lacking something. Your ego never wants to give. Your ego is all about getting, getting, getting. It wants, it needs, it never wants to give. And if it does give, it's always a manipulative giving. It's always to get something in return. But when you give, when you really give, and you don't expect anything back, that's when you've relinquished identity with your ego. Lasting happiness. In order to find lasting happiness, we need to understand where happiness comes from. Who is the giver of happiness? Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, we can find this happiness inside of us. But the thing, the being, the isness that has gifted us with happiness is Source. So when we decide, when we cultivate our connection with Source, then we're able to find lasting happiness. It's been my experience that even though this feeling of happiness isn't with me at all times, the more that I place my awareness on God, on Source, the happier that I feel, the happier I become. And it's the most rewarding type of happiness when you can feel happy without needing anything in your life to change. So, what I've been practicing as of late is remembering as much as possible to place my awareness on God. And I'll simply say things to myself in my mind during the day, things like, I love you, God. I love you. I love you, Source. Find the word that resonates with you. Sometimes I'll say, I love you, Divine Mother. I love you so much. And I'll really mean it when I say it. And this connection that I have to God is beginning to feel so personal, so intimate, so lovely. The wonderful thing is that it's there at any moment, literally any moment. It's just up to me to think of it. It's up to me to remember that it's there, that God, Source, is always, always with us, always. I had that realization many months ago when I had that experience during meditation, and I realized that God is always with me, always, because God is all there is. So, how could God not be with me? And because I know this, because I've experienced it, I know that I have that as a resource, that I can tap into this at any moment, whenever I want. And the more I do it, the happier I become. We go about our lives and we live our lives and we get so consumed with the me, the I need, I want, I need to do this. And we lose out on this preciousness of this other thing that is inside us, that is all around us, that is literally everywhere, that is this incredible awareness, this beautiful, intelligent, loving, wise, peaceful, joyful consciousness. And we can tap into that simply by placing our own awareness on it. I'll leave you with one last little story that I heard recently that was really touching to me. And it's one of Yogananda's closest disciples, Dayamata. And she was relaying this story about this one instance that she walked in on Yogananda while he was meditating. And she said, I just stood there and I watched him for a moment because I was so taken aback by what he was saying, by the simplicity of his devotion for God. And the only thing he was saying was just one word. And what he kept repeating over and over and over again was you, 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 you. And I thought that was just the most beautiful thing. It really shows you how personal your connection, your intimate connection with God can be. I hope this week you can practice tapping into this never ending supply of joy that is inside of you, that is within you, that is you. There's one more little thing that I want to read to you, and it's writing from Paramahansa Yogananda, and it's called a paragram. And this particular paragram is called service. And I thought it was fitting for this particular video. Life should be chiefly service. Without that ideal, the intelligence that God has given you is not reaching out toward its goal. When in service, you forget the little self. You will feel the big self of spirit. As the vital rays of sun nurture all, so should you spread rays of hope in the hearts of the poor and forsaken, kindle courage in the hearts of the despondent, and light a new strength in the hearts of those who think that they are failures. When you realize that life is a joyous battle of duty and at the same time a passing dream, and when you become filled with the joy of making others happy by giving them kindness and peace, in God's eyes, your life is a success. I love you all so much. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.